For those of you that maybe are not familiar with MassChallenge, and we'll start going through a couple slides here pretty quick, and then again, we'll come to questions at the end. But for those of you that aren't familiar with us, MassChallenge, we are the global network for innovators. We were founded back in 2009, and we equip bold entrepreneurs to disrupt the status quo and create meaningful change. We are a nonprofit. We take zero equity from our startups. That's the part where you would be excited and cheering if we could see your faces. I'm sure you are. And we support around 500 startups a year through our various programs. These startups are all different stages. They come from all different places in the world and various industries. We have 8 physical locations that we run 10 different programs out of every year to touch those 500 startups. Again, today we'll specifically talk about the U.S. early stage program, but we have other programs that we run as well. And we really feel like the accelerators that we run, and I'll talk more about the model here, but they really are the most efficient pathway for entrepreneurs, founders, to connect to experts, corporate innovators, find access points to expertise and capital, and really serve as a conduit for all of those sort of pathways to connect and grow communities and transform economies. So a little bit about our impact here on the next slide. So we really believe that innovation, sustainable innovation, the creation and the adoption of that innovation is not only accelerating, but it's strongest when it is diverse and it's inclusive. We work really hard across our global network to make sure that we have diverse participation by measuring, not just like the founders, the funding sources, the geography, but also the industries. I could go into a whole diatribe of this, right? But so I'm coming to you from Houston, Texas today. And so I have a really unique perspective on the center of the country. But we, as an organization, MassChallenge, even though our locations are geographically dispersed, we really believe that there's a massive amount of opportunity that's yet to be unlocked that sits in places that are not your stereotypical startup hubs and from founders that necessarily don't look like me. And that's a massive amount of opportunity that we are looking to infuse into our mission at MassChallenge. And through that, sort of infuse that diversity into the DNA of the innovation economy. Our commitment has intentional initiatives and measurable goals behind it to drive that diversity. And consistent with our values of transparency, we have we've provided here some demographic breakdowns across gender, geography, race, and industry. And this is from our 2021 U.S. early stage cohort. I mentioned we welcome this, but we in fact seek out founders, experts, and corporate innovators really from all walks of life, from all experiences, global geographies to join our network, because we really do know that the next great startup idea is probably not going to come from Silicon Valley. If you're joining us from Silicon Valley, no offense, but you're probably going to have to work harder. All right, anyways, let's keep going to the next slide. Open and offend people there. I have a tendency to do that. All right, so why would you want to join MassChallenge and our network sort of broadly? Speaking as a reformed founder, as somebody that gets to work with founders every day. Hey, thanks, Adrian. We'll take it offline if I've offended you. I apologize. But we're a group of folks that understand some of the founder needs, and one of the biggest things that we hear from our alumni, from our current cohort on a regular basis, and that we certainly identify with, is the need to be really, really strategic about where you spend your time, your energy, your effort, your focus. So, we're thoughtful about this at MassChallenge, and you'll see as Hope talks a little bit about the programs here in a minute, we absolutely offer a lot of the core elements that you would expect to find in a top tier accelerator. Curriculum, workshops, great speakers, the in-kind deals and discounts are amazing. But really the uniqueness of MassChallenge and the value that you'll find kind of comes from these sort of 3 pillars that you see on the slide here. So we really are the global network for innovators that are working to solve massive challenges. That means that when you join us on this mission, when you become part of the MassChallenge community, It's not just about the 3 to 4 months of programming that you're going to have there. It's really about gaining access to a network of other founders, of peers, of potential customers, potential investors, capital networks, industry expertise, and really like that talent that's going to be so valuable for you over the long term. Our community-driven approach, it's really about matching your goals and your needs to the expertise that's within our community. You know, another way of saying this is a little more bluntly, if you wanted to just get book smart on how to grow your startup, there's a million YouTube videos out there, and they're awesome. They're great. If you want to find people, though, that you can talk to that can meet you where you're at from not only a founder perspective, but an expertise perspective, and can match your goals to their experience, that's where we really find value in MassChallenge. And the founders that succeed with us and go on to create highly sustainable startups, that's what they're leveraging, is our network of former founders, current founders, expertise, subject matter experts from Fortune 500 companies, people that represent access to capital networks, and they leverage that community to create those lasting relationships. Oh, and I should mention again, I mentioned at the top of the call, but we and our experts all do that without asking for any revenue. Our experts are volunteers. They're unpaid. They don't expect anything to come out of it. Now, certainly, if you meet the next angel investor during your time at MassChallenge, that's incredible. That's awesome. We encourage you to nurture those relationships, but there's no expectation there. All right, so that's MassChallenge, and I'm happy to go into more details again if you have questions at the end about sort of globally where we're at. But we are really here to talk about one of our programs, the largest program we run every year, which is our US early stage program. And for more of the details on that, I'm going to hand it over to the incomparable Hope Hopkins.
Thank you, Jon. All right, everybody. So you've heard a little bit about who we are and what we do and why you should join us in this. I'm going to speak to you now about startup eligibility and the program itself. So for a start, what are we looking for? We are looking for high impact early stage companies who have raised less than $1 million in equity-based funding and generated less than $2 million in revenue from any industries anywhere in the world. So just a quick rehash of that. It's less than 1 million in equity and 2 million in revenue. And you can come from any industry and any place in the entire world. And that is because this year's program is going to be completely virtual. We practice the art of, so a completely virtual program. And then in terms of the way in which we work to support you, we look at it in the lens of three main pieces: goal setting, access to curated mentors, and support from the peer network. These are key themes that we believe help you reach that next milestone or next level. Again, that curriculum will be live streamed. We'll have working groups we call pods. We'll host virtual events, and your one-to-one mentorship can all be done via Zoom or other virtual technology. The founders who are located in cities where we do have geographic offices or geographic footprints, or those willing to travel to any of those locations. So again, these locations are Boston, Austin, Dallas, Houston, or Rhode Island. You can actually, if you want to be in any of those geographies or are already in those geographies, you can actually apply to our residency program and get free office space during the span of the program to work out of. So again, that would be from early July through the end of September. You would be eligible to work out of an office of your choice. Founders also have the option to participate in something called our Market Access Program. This is new for us this year, and this will all be occurring during the month of October. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more in detail on the next slide. I did want to also offer that an additional benefit to this program are the industry tracks that we'll be running this year. So industry tracks are the three tracks we'll be running are safety and security, which is our dual use defense orientated support. We're looking at everything from cybersecurity to blue technology to hydroelectric sensing systems, digital twins, you name it. Space commercialization is also an area of focus for us this year, and you'll understand more why when Jon speaks about the Lambda Vision Prize in particular. And then finally, a new addition for us this year, but one that we're really excited to explore, are climate solutions. And again, the purpose of those tracks is we realize that these are more difficult industries to access, be it because there's a lot of government contracting involved or heavy regulatory burden. So we do bring in an additional layer of support for startups that have any interest in pursuing those areas. Next slide. So the market access program that I mentioned, in October, we are going to be hosting in-person market access events that any of you can attend. You can go to all 5 of them if you want, or you can pick 1 or 2 or just 1. But essentially, these are in the geography specific events. Think of it as like a mini trade mission of sorts to that city. And it's a unique opportunity for you to receive specialized introductions through meetings or networking events, and opportunities to meet investors, corporate partners, relevant government stakeholders, community partners, angel networks, and more that are specific to that geography. So again, this is the first year that we're hosting this type of a program, but we're really excited about it. And we think that it will make for a pretty compelling experience and certainly hopefully bridge the gap as we go from a fully virtual world to a hybrid version of ourselves. Next slide. About our partners. So we are very fortunate to have a wide group of both corporate partners that are seeking innovation solutions from the likes of all of you and your solutions. And then similarly, we have a pretty large group of enablement partners. So what this means is we have the traditional corporates like an Amica insurance company or Mitsubishi Electric that are truly looking for additional solutions. But then similarly, we have partners like UPS and Fundify and Brex who and Foley Hoag and so many more who actually want to support you in your journey. And they frankly are the funding that makes it possible for us to offer this program to you at no cost and take no equity. So in terms of how we work with the partners, there will be many different opportunities to be exposed to them. We will start with some reverse pitches towards the orientation week. You'll get to understand exactly what they're looking for, the challenges they're faced, and a little bit more around how to work with them. And throughout the course of the program, we're actually going to spend more and more time helping you understand how to align best. We call it enterprise readiness, and really whether or not there is an avenue for exploration in some type of format for you in the future with them, be it piloting, mentorship, et cetera. And this is done in the context of different pitch events, and we call them collider events that will be hosted throughout the 12 weeks, culminating in demo days that each partner will host, and you'll be applying in for it. And if accepted, we'll have the opportunity to get in front of that partner. Next slide. So again, we are incredibly proud of the work that we've done over the last now 13 years. We've got 3,000 alumni in our database. So again, we mentioned early on that a huge piece that we believe in is the peer network, as well as all the other resources we bring to bear. But this peer network is significant. It is not just comprised of the startups that will be in your 2022 cohort, but the other 3,000 that still express interest. We're really thrilled at the diversity of our cohorts. And one of the statistics we love to throw around there is the 48% have had at least one female founder. And then moreover, if you're still not convinced that you should apply, we have found through an MIT-based study that startups that have participated in our program are in fact 2.5 times more likely to raise at least $500,000 in funding and 3 times more likely to reach at least 15 employees. Next slide. So the timeline. Applications launched this past Tuesday and are now live and open on our website. You just need to go to masschallenge.org and click on that Apply Now button, and it's a pretty self-directed process from there. Applications will close on April 20th. And then we go into the 2 rounds of evaluation that determine who makes up that final cohort. So the first round is an online judging, and this is where our subject matter expert judges are assigned the applications that you actually submit, and they review those and they rank them against a pretty simple rubric. I see a question that just came in the chat. How many startups do we anticipate taking this year? We believe that the 2022 cohort will have about 250 companies accepted into it. And again, that's always a measure of the quality and the number of applicants received. So again, that first round of judging is done online. And then the second round of judging happening in early June is actually, if you make it through round 1, you'll be notified and you will be invited to then participate in that second round of judging, which we will do once again via Zoom. But you will have the opportunity to do a 20-minute pitch in front of a panel of judges that are specific to your industry sector. And or we do also try to pepper in investors, lawyers, and others that can look at your business so that you get a very well-rounded evaluation. And then the program itself runs this year, starting on July 11th with our orientation week and ending on September 23rd, with the highlight of that culmination being our big showcase on September 21st. And then again, you'll see here the dates for the market access programs that will follow soon thereafter. And then one other fine point, that this year, the MassChallenge, those that participate in this program can apply to compete for the cash award prizes at the end of this 4-month program. I'm going to hand it back to Jon.
Awesome. Thanks, Hope. Yeah, and I'll expand a little bit on the awards piece. So for those of you that maybe have applied to MassChallenge in previous years or have seen some of our programs in the past, this is slightly different this year in that the awards used to be essentially a part of our program, and we've moved that timeline out a little bit for a couple of reasons, which I'm happy to answer questions about. But the short version is this, that you have to go through the cohort to be eligible for the awards. That's an obvious one, right? And then also the awards are going to be structured in a way where, again, any company anywhere in the world can and should apply, and there'll be awards for all of those folks, and we'll have some more specific details on how those awards track to specific industry clusters, applications, and then things that we call like sidecar prizes, so things that our partners are very much interested in. But that awards process right now is going to run from the end of the program, that October-November timeframe is when we'll open those applications up, and then they'll actually be awarded in Q1 of next year, so that it sort of extends our reach a little bit too in terms of keeping you all connected to the network and making those things available to you. So just to kind of like wrap up, and then we'll get to a couple of the questions, and obviously if y'all have any more questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll get to a few more here. You know, what you see here, though, is a few quotes from founders, and I'll talk a little bit about a specific story here in a minute. What we've sort of learned over the last couple of years in dealing with thousands of founders, right? Like somebody asked this question, how many we take in? We'll take around 3,000 applications to this one program every year to get to that 250 or so startup cohort. So it's about a less than a 10% acceptance rate. And we talk to every one of those founders along the way. And to highlight one of the points that Hope brought up, if you're thinking about whether or not you should apply or what you have to risk, you know, like it's 20 to 30 minutes to fill out the application. There's no fee. And even in round 1 judging, even if you don't make it to round 2, you're going to get detailed feedback from our community on that application, on open questions they have, on things to consider, things to think about. So it's incredibly valuable just for that. So anyways, when we think about all of the feedback that we get from founders along the way and the ones that take the journey with us, a lot of the things that they tell us is really around the power of the network. A lot of what I mentioned at the beginning of the call, and how they leverage that to uncover gaps that were just blind spots for them to realize how to do real focused goal setting. And to find the right people at the right time to help them come solve with them. One sort of specific example of where that kind of came together on the next slide here is a small case study we have on a startup that came through MassChallenge back in 2016 in our health tech program, Lamb Division. They came to us to broaden their network originally, to sort of refine their go-to-market strategy and their some of the structural stuff they had just to start off, as a lot of founders have to focus on. And of course, funding was a big thing for them. What we were able to do for them is through our program, we partnered them with NASA. One of the prizes that we run every year as an award is the Technology and Space Prize that was through an organization called the Center for Advancement in Space and Science Cases, which is actually now called the ISS National Lab, the International Space Station National Lab. So through some relationships, they won that prize, which allowed them to fly an experiment to the space station on the SpaceX CRS-16 mission back in 2018. And through that and partnership with Space Tango, they received another $5 million award from NASA to continue their work on the ISSNL. The ISSNL does an annual prize for us every year. We have additional partners that continue to do prizes like this, where the intent is to find the most compelling, the newest, the best ideas that are going to have the most impact for industries that are maybe a little bit less traditional, but need that early stage support, and surround them with partners, with experts, with a community that's going to help you all grow and really become sustainable. All right, with that, I think, where else you can connect with us? So we are hosting a number of in-person info sessions similar to this. You can come out and meet the team. We have my team, my community team is in every one of our physical markets in New England, Dallas, Houston, Austin. There is, in the chat, Tiffany just put in where you can come meet us. The next in-person meeting is in New England, March 15th, 6 o'clock. That's in a few days. We have the other two info sessions you see here. These are both virtual sessions on March 17th and March 24th. That will have people that are much more engaging than I am probably, and that you've actually probably heard of. They're great thought leadership stuff. It's awesome to be a part of those. But there's more areas where you can come in and get some more questions, meet some more folks in the community, and would definitely invite you to come out and join us in our one-on-one sessions and meet us in person. Other than that, here's where you apply. Again, it's not going to cost you anything. You're going to get some great feedback. You really don't have a reason not to. And to that, actually, we do want to answer questions. There was a question earlier in the chat, and it's rolled up now, so I can't see your name, that asked about the requirements or the eligibility and whether or not convertible debt counted as equity. We do count those things. So basically, any funding that you've got that has any sort of equity component tied to it, we'll count that towards that upper limit of $1 million in equity. But even if you're close to that, or if you're, beyond that, apply anyways. Whenever you fill out the application, we'll ask you that question, and then we'll ask you if there's any clarification. And a great example of this is we see a lot of hard tech companies, a lot of health tech companies, as Hope mentioned, a lot of space companies that take a massive amount of investment up front to get off the ground. So even if you're beyond that early stage equity, but you're still a small, fast growing company, we're really more focused on making sure that the mix that's within the cohort, the startups that you're going to be working side by side with, are at the same stage as you are. So there's space for us to discuss those things and figure out what the appropriate response is there. What else? I think that's it. Applications are due April 20th, so don't wait. I mentioned it only takes about 20-30 minutes. Like if you've applied to any accelerators before, that's about what it takes, because you will probably know most of the stuff. If you haven't applied to an accelerator before, it's probably going to take you a little bit longer, but it doesn't hurt to get started early. And yeah, and get your info in as soon as you can.